Stand clear.
100% Wild podcast.
So for all you listeners,
hello and welcome to
definitely not your favorite outdoor podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast, powered by DeerCast. This is episode 354.
You're Tim Chelswick.
You are Matt Drury.
We have a special in-studio guest who's in studio every day.
So you and I are like the Oreo cookie. Scott is like,
don't say it,
the creamy filling.
Hey, best part.
Yeah, that's right.
I did not sign off on any of that.
Well, welcome to a podcast that gives more than it receives.
I don't think so, Tim.
And overpromises way more than it delivers. Except for this week. So you guys are going to talk about your recent kills.
Wait, what?
And
what?
That's right.
I'm going to go back to my desk. Just let me know when it's time to come back and close the thing out.
I actually almost suggested that. Like, Tim, just you
stuff
stick
to do
to what you got going on.
You got nothing new to report.
Yeah,
and
Scott and I can handle it this week.
Yeah, more public humiliation.
Well, before we
week.
get into our triumphant return to killing, how's your week been going?
Well, it's been quiet.
I saw that you were hiking with Bo on a special birthday trip. That seemed awesome.
Yeah, he did his first backpacking trip. He turned 7 today as of the taping of this. We did 5 miles, and the first, 500 feet into the trip, he wanted to stop and get a snack. So
that'll happen.
Yes.
I mean, I would have been the same way. Like, all right, let's stop.
But it was legit. I think it got down to like below freezing the night that we stayed out. So he stayed warm and cozy in the tent, and it was a fun trip.
Did you bring any of Captain Crazy's nuts?
We kind of tore. I texted Chris and thanked him for the gift packs. He sent like these little Halloween fall packs.
Hey Ben, if we have any of those, can you go grab one from?
It's a big if
from Scott's.
We kind of tore through.
We got to plug our buddy here.
Yeah,
right?
they've been hanging out on my desk, and Matt's been sneaking over every time. Just let me
selectively going through.
Here's the deal.
And
I had
filtering.
2 bags at my desk, and I tore through them pretty quick. And I thought, I'm going to give the rest away, and then I'm going to just go to other people's desks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't feel bad.
Is that what you've
about
been checking in with people with no real agenda?
That's right.
Hey, just wanting to see how things are going. So it's a pumpkin spice snack mix from Captain Crazy's Nuts.
it. And he's getting ready to come out with a Christmas mix. I look forward to trying that as well.
Made with
Chris?
real reindeer. Can't wait.
Reindeer nuts.
So I had an encounter with a wacky rack buck, a non-typical, the Friday before the rifle opener here in Missouri. And I grunted him in, like it was getting towards the end of the day, and I blind called, which I don't normally do, but it was like,
After all that we've talked about.
it was like, it's the end of the day. Why not?
Which is what Terry said they do.
Yeah. And so sure enough, I hit the buck bark, and I hear like something comes running, and I'm on a tree line. And so it's super thick cedars and scraggly oaks and stuff. And he pops out, comes down the tree line at probably 15 yards from my tree and starts making a scrape. And he's pissed. And he's, rubbing his antlers.
I heard
and
Tim
stuff.
was in the area.
What's going on over here? And I was like, I've had this deer on my cameras during in Velvet, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I wanted to shoot this deer, and so like
Here's a deer.
It's kind of ontological shock. Like I've sat all season without a shooter in front of me. Ugh. Here's one, and
Now what do I do?
and it's tough because he's in so close to the tree line that I'm in. So he's got branches and stuff obscuring his view, and he's so close to the tree. I'm having to like crank the camera arm down to get him in view. And it's late and it's quiet and like all the things. And so I finally get all the cameras on him, and he's amped. So like all of his movements are real staccato. Yeah. And makes a scrape and then starts walking towards me a little bit. So he's getting even closer, and there's a gap, like maybe 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet wide in the branches.
And when you say close, he's like,
I'm
10 steps,
almost shooting straight down,
which is tough.
and I don't want to shoot
In
straight
any scenario.
And I don't want to shoot straight down because there's only more stuff on more branches underneath me.
Okay.
So I find a gap to shoot through. He picks up his head, and suddenly his antlers are in the way. So I wait. I'm at full draw, and he puts his head back down, and I take the shot. and the arrow makes a weird sound, and I see like a poof of hair come off of him, and he runs off. And I was like, man, that sounded weird. And the arrow did not, like, the knock did not disappear. In fact, I could see it like a force field. It just deflected around him and then went and buried itself in the dirt. So I was like, what in the world and he was fine. Like he ran out to about 40 yards down the tree line, looked around, and then kind of did a big U shape around me and then went off to chasing. I checked the ground. There's no blood, nothing on the arrow, just a bunch of brown hair.
I looked at that video that you texted us. I could not figure out for the life of me where he got hit at. I couldn't figure it out. Now, it probably would help to watch on the big TV here. And you guys probably did that. I was out that day, but where was
we did a little forensics on it. And so this is like days after the fact. One of my buddies was like, you hit a twig. You hit a branch. Like you can see the larger limb that these branches are on quake a little bit after the shot. And if you slow it down, we can probably throw it up here in a second. Like you can see a twig go flying off in the distance, which was enough to kind of kick the arrow at its side. So the arrow kind of slapped him as opposed to the broadhead hitting first.
Like slapping your wife's ass. Get out of here.
Go on.
Run, deer. You're gonna
so
get
it
shot
literally
at.
just shaved him. And I'm happy he's fine.
Sure.
I don't want to draw any blood if I'm not going to kill him, but it's such like,
it happens.
I've made more difficult shots than that in the past. It was just at that time of day where you can't quite see everything.
Yeah.
And I just I thought I could clear the little gap and didn't. And the twig was what got me.
As Terry would say, I wonder who was supposed to trim that branch. We've had a couple moments like that in the past. So it happens.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he always goes to is like, ooh, who's supposed to trim that area? In this case, just you.
And like that spot is kind of set up for deer that are going to follow the fence line. But I think because I called him in, he just came like as A to B. He didn't follow the normal path that deer usually go through to get there. But it's weird because frankly, I was just happy to have a good encounter. Like I felt like last season, I just couldn't get even an opportunity at a mature deer. And I felt like, hey, I did it. The shot didn't work out, but I felt good that I had a good encounter. The footage was really neat. Like I got a lot of really great footage of not killing a deer. But
just describe my entire season.
Sounds vaguely familiar. But so still no deer, but he's still walking around doing his thing.
You got any pictures of him since? I see.
No, it's weird.
But that's an area where there's no gun. Like you can't shoot guns, right? Firearms.
I can.
Oh, I thought it wasn't.
No, this was down in Bourbon. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this was the Friday before the rifle opener.
Gotcha.
And frankly, I just haven't got time to get back down there to do any kind of hunting.
Yeah.
And that same night, as I'm driving out, the rancher who never talks to me, he's just not.
Anyways, sorry. Go on.
He's not super sociable. He let me know that this was my last season on the property. They are selling it.
That stings.
So I was like, what other kind of gut punch can I endure tonight? This same night.
Brutal.
Dang.
Yep.
Salt in the wound on that.
But I have seen some deer. I had a really nice 3-year-old in front of me last weekend on one of my archery only properties. It was just neat to see him following a doe, but still I have not punched a buck tag this year.
Well, there's still time. When we get to this point in the season, I always think, and I mentioned it in my journal entry, this is kind of the Missouri firearm season for us here in this state. It's kind of like midway for archery hunters. It's like, all right, things get a hell of a lot tougher after this. They're a little shell shocked. So, I mean, traditionally the next couple weeks, I really struggle through if I'm still archery hunting in Missouri, seeing deer. Now it could be my spots, but I mean, traditionally really struggle. And it's not until they get back onto a late season or get into a late season pattern where I've typically, if you have a food source or whatever, where I've been able to kind of get back into where we can pattern them again or even see the damn thing. That's been my experience. But, I know like Green Revisited's coming up. Like there's some phases coming up where the guys have had really good luck in. But
and we got the full moon coming at the end of November too, so that'll probably come into play more this year.
Yeah. When does it hit in December? I wonder when it hits, because that could come right around the time of the muzzleloader season for those that still have a firearms tag.
It'll be close. Yeah, I don't know the exact dates yet. But.
So if we get any cold weather, usually what happens, coldest weather will hit Christmas, New Year's, like the times that you have to be with your family. Or you're a jerk.
What do you say? What do you say? Have to?
Okay, so it's December 26th is the full moon. So I mark my words. We're gonna have a cold front on the 24th and the 25th.
Hey, honey.
And it'll, the deer will be moving. You'll be looking at your cell cams at your event. And
hey, Cam, you want to go deer hunting again?
Yeah, that's right. So
I keep trying to get Sophie to go out with me. The one morning, like this past Saturday, I was like, "Hey, you want to go out and sit in the blind for a little bit?" And that blind had a 4-pointer walk in front of it that she would have loved to have shot. And I was like, "Hey, if you want to do this, you got to log the time." And this is what walked in front of the blind while you were playing in the neighborhood.
Good way to parent him. Hey, look what you missed, you little jerk.
You chose wrong, dear.
Yeah, I mean, the way I approach it with Cam is like, do you want? I always ask, do you want to go? Yep. Same as you. Most of the time, it's a no. And the 1 time, 2 times he says yes, I feel happy about him just wanting to come.
And you got to jump on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I think that pretty much does it, guys.
Yeah, let's call it a
show.
wrap.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, miss all the good stuff.
All right. So
there's more.
There's more. We, a team Matt and Scott, we both killed a deer.
Did you just come up with that team name?
Yes.
That's really good.
What's the Ramrod?
Team Car Ramrod, get it?
No. So we both killed a deer this past
Same
Saturday. Different deer, different properties.
Different
1,
properties.
2, shoot.
Double. Make sure this sucker doesn't leave the field.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll get into that one.
Yeah. So we go up to on opening. We will backtrack a little bit. Opening weekend of the Missouri firearms season, we head up to my farm up there in Rawls County, the one I just bought this past February, the one where Scott killed the first week of the season with archery,
breaking it in.
And we had only hunted it. We hunted it the October 30th and 31st. Had some really good encounters with a giant deer. I'm not going to talk about because it's depressing. And then nothing really since. And so the last few weeks, a deer showed up that at first we didn't recognize. And we couldn't tell if he's a 9 or a 10.
Yep.
And it turns out he was a 10, but we didn't know who he was. And he had real interesting, distinct G1s, brow tines. And so I started thinking about it. It was a deer that we actually had pictures of. The very first deer we got pictures of back in February, late January and February, when we hung our first trail cameras on that property after I closed. And so we don't have any funny, cool name for him. I just started tagging him
G1 buck,
first cam pull buck or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
first
like
pull buck.
Because it's just a good buck. He was just a real good mature deer. And at the time when we first got pictures of him, just based on the mass of his brow tines, I was like, man, I think he might be like one of the only mature bucks we had on camera at the time. And looking back, I don't know, he might have been 4.5 then.
Yeah.
And this year he is 5.5, but for sure mature buck this year. And we start getting pictures of him. So opening day, we go in there after that deer and we pulled an all day sit.
Brutal, first of all.
Yeah.
12 hours in a blind is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Drury.
That's the fun part. I mean, come on, Tim.
I'm a bucket of monkeys.
Shut your mouth. I pack lots of snacks for me.
Oh no. Poor Scott. Sit there watching.
I never pack snacks.
This dude,
Matt's always like, you got enough? It's like, no, I'll be fine. I'll just wait.
And I'm always packing like First Farm protein sticks, and they're so good.
They're good.
And
a high protein diet in a closed space doesn't do so
I'm
great.
courteous. Not always, but mostly. Well, anyways,
Anywho.
Scott doesn't eat. He just lives on, not when we're hunting. But outside of hunting, he just lives on Copenhagen and Monster. I've said it before.
Yep.
I think
Red
I said
Bulls.
this last season.
Yep.
This guy's a gut full of bacteria that I don't know exist in this
I have
world.
a really weird diet. I can't explain it, but hey, it works.
So he didn't eat. Anyways, we pull out an all day sit in the morning. We encountered a 3-year-old and some other deer, nothing crazy.
Bunch of young stuff chasing.
And my thought process was sit all day because at midday, and it was warming up that day, but the midday I thought we might see something cruising through this spot. We saw some random, does and yearlings, that kind of stuff. Nothing crazy. So anyways, the afternoon movement started, I don't know, maybe an hour before dark. And the deer came out from our west, and it's kind of Scott's sitting on the west side of the blind. I'm sitting on the east side. We're facing north, and they kind of come out of the west, out of this timber. And I thought they're going to filter up to this biologic, non-typical clover food plot that we got in front of us. And that's typically what happens. And all of a sudden a buck pops out and it's him. It's the deer we're after. And he's like, hey, should we open this side window? Should we open the side window? And I'm set up for the front. And I'm like, nah, I think he'll end up pushing him up to this food plot. And I should have, when Scott said that, we should have switched. But you got to understand, like, the amount of crap we have in this blind. It's a production to move all the tensing bags back and the cameras and all that. And the chairs are, they're like these muddy chairs. They're actually bigger because those Hawk chairs are bigger than these muddies. Yep. And so anyways, I'm like, no, he's going to come up to the front. We'll just wait. And I'll have
Did you have a crappy attitude towards like, no, you idiot.
Yeah.
He's going to come up
That's
front.
how I always speak to him.
Hey, I mentioned it and I was like, okay, he's going to go out the front. I'm just going to keep burning him down.
Not
right
apologize.
here.
Let's move on. All right. So anyways, he's getting great footage of him out the side window.
Cool.
And like where Marty still was that.
Marty Stouffer.
Yeah, we're just getting footage. That's how my whole season's gone. Just getting footage. And
same here.
So he's nudging these does around and it's beautiful footage. I mean, great. He looks great.
And what's the distance that he's
probably
80 to 90.
Yeah,
80 to 90
so
yards.
I'm shooting a Winchester XPR 350 Legend, got the Banish suppressor on it, Deer Season XP, like totally obviously within range. And I just kept thinking, no, he's going to come up out of the front window where we're set up and we'll be fine. He did not. He nudged the nose right back into the timber. And so at that point, I'm kicking myself a little bit, but I'm like, he's going to show back. He's probably going to nudge them out somewhere here.
Yeah.
So
it was early enough. We had a pretty good feeling he'd be back out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's looking, I'm looking, we're looking everywhere. Head on a swivel. We're looking everywhere. And I look back, I kind of pull the curtain open. I look back and I'm like, who's this? Because he was so close. I'm talking like 15 steps.
Oh,
he's coming up the trail.
Yeah.
I don't know where he popped out.
Yeah, eerily reminiscent of my buck in the early season.
Exactly the
doing
same spot.
thing.
My guess is he came up from where our trail camera is over there.
Yep.
We just missed him. I'm not going to name names, but Scott, that's his side. And he just came up from that side.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, I'll own that one.
So anyways, so he's coming out the right to the front. He's literally exactly doing what Scott's buck did. He's at 15 yards. And so we're opening the window.
What's it look like through the scope when he's at 50? Just brown?
I've made this mistake a long time ago of always being zoomed in too far. So I zoom out and then I'll adjust the damn thing or I'll just shoot one of the two. I'd much rather, because, the eye relief, it took me a long time to figure out that whole eye relief thing. Okay. I'm ashamed to say, but you back it out, you have a lot better chance of throwing the gun up and seeing it right
100%,
away.
Yeah.
So he's coming out. We open the window up. I think Scott opens the window and he gets it locked or he's holding it, one of the two.
Just holding it.
So he's holding it, one arm, filming the other.
Yeah.
I made the mistake. I had a trigger stick with me. Mm-hmm. I had it for more of if we had to shoot out the vertical windows, just as a good rest.
Yeah.
And finally, that was screwing me up because he was so close. So I laid that down. We're still scrambling because didn't we also switch sides?
Well, that was after he worked through. So you're on the trigger stick, you drop the trigger stick and you're still trying to follow him and get on him. And then he kind of makes it to where you can't go any further right.
He's beelining it.
Yeah.
He's just beelining it through at 15, 20 yards.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get on it. So I'm just shouldering it at this point, and I'm running out of room to move my gun to the right. He's running out of my
That's a
window.
tough thing about this time of year is that when you get an opportunity, like you got to take it because they're just moving so fast.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I've had some rough experiences this year. And so I'm just not gonna, I wanted to settle my shot before I shot. I wanted to settle before I shot.
Yeah.
And so I'm and I'm getting louder and louder. And I'm telling you, he's at 15 to 20 yards. He's right by the scrape tree.
Yeah.
Hey.
And so I go, hey. And he starts whistling and the damn thing never stops. He just kept cruising through. He saw does over in the other field to our right, which we can't really shoot, but we've got a plan for that next year.
Yep.
We're going to trim some lanes over there in a few spots, but he just hauls butt right through there and over to the other side.
So and then after that happened, we kind of switched our seats and then opened another window and we're trying to get on him. But at that point, he's kind of just dead away from Matt. So
I'm on him. I have him in my sights, but he's facing straight away.
Yeah, you can't shoot.
Yeah. So I know people do, but I can't. So.
I'm thinking about like a new Drury Outdoors signature call called the Matt Drury, and it's a grunt tube, but when you blow it goes, hey, hey.
Oh, like Harry Carey in the line. Hey.
If you were made a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
I know I would. So he didn't stop.
Yeah.
And then he ran around like a crazed buck in the rut, desperately seeking. And so I want to backtrack a little bit. The phases, that was technically the 13 phases. That was what we call lockdown, because that would have been the 15th or what was opening day of firearm?
I think it was either the 11th or the
11th or the 12th. Okay.
12, I think.
So anyways, he was desperately seeking. He was in his next phase of the rut, but he was also the most mature buck in the area. So it really wasn't a surprise. He was off his first doe and he was going to get a second doe. And so he was looking hard and couldn't find, he's just pushing everything around. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, we didn't end up, having a chance at that the rest of that afternoon. We sneak out of there and don't really have any issues. And we did not have Jane Doe decoy out. Correct. And I logged that away. I thought, boy, if we would have had the decoy out, he would have stopped to mess with that. 100% would have gone and at least looked. So the next day, we do bring Jane Doe decoy out in the morning. We go super early, crappy AM hunt, nothing really happening. The PM hunt, we actually got out this time because I was like, I can't sit. It was even warmer. It was like a high as 63 or.
Yeah, it was hot in that blind.
And we're just dying.
Yeah.
And we're hunting the wrong wind. And so I didn't really want to open the windows. Mm-hmm. So anyways, it's like, let's get out for lunch. We got out. Yep. We then got back in early. I mean, it was 2 and we brought, put the decoy out and all that good stuff. He pops out 45 minutes, 30 minutes before, last light in that other field. And he's chasing does again. And he ends up going the opposite direction of us. And so we keep our head on a swivel. We're looking around.
How close is he to the neighbors?
I mean, it's a smaller, we're talking a 40-acre piece right here. The whole farm's 93, but we're looking at like the way it almost breaks into 2 pieces. Mm-hmm. The way the farm lays out, it's almost like 2 triangles more or less. Yeah. And I'm close to a neighbor everywhere, which is also the reason I didn't want to just shoot. I wanted to make sure I had a good shot on him. So I'm thinking, definitely running over to my neighbors, which great guy. I got great neighbors, all great neighbors. And so I thought, boy, he's probably going to go run over there. And he likely did. I don't know. Yeah. I think he did. And we didn't see him. So I was like, as soon as it got dark, I was like, let's get the hell out of here. We got to get the decoy and we're going to, walk. It takes us 10 minutes to get out of here. And so we're walking down and it's still light enough where you could see a little something going on. Scott's like, do you see that? Oh, there's a tail there or whatever.
Yeah. Something ran off.
And I was like, just keep walking. Yeah. And we walk down, we get out and we checked the trail camera, which was just right there. And it was right before that. It was him coming out of this timber. He circled all the way around behind us. Yeah. And he showed up
Great.
looking
a
at
few
us.
minutes after shooting light. So, I mean, we wouldn't have had an opportunity that
No,
night
no.
anyways, but it was good to
You
know he
just
was there.
educated him.
But he definitely saw us walking out
Yeah, he
or
did,
something.
for
something.
sure.
Wonder what those guys are doing.
Yeah, and that was our last day hunting, anyways, for a few days up there because it's just geographically it's too far away for me to hunt every day during the season. I had to come back home
and keep your family.
Yeah, exactly, and be married. So, come home. We ended up hunting a couple more days through the week. It was warm for most of the country, so we weren't having great luck. We had a little bit of luck. We had a 3-year-old top our decoy out at our lease, and I mean we had some okay sits. But I was looking at DeerCast. I was circling the Friday, Saturday, the second weekend.
Yeah.
Weather got right again, and really all it was taking it back to the average temperatures. And so I think. It was saying like okay and good, but it's because it was really just bringing it back down to average.
Relative cold front.
Yeah. So go up Friday to the farm. We felt like it was slow, but in the reality, we saw 11 deer.
Yeah, it was a decent sit, just no matures.
Yeah. So nothing really happened. We hadn't seen that deer on camera for a couple days now.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said to him, I was like, I think he got his doe. I think the way he was looking, I go, I bet he found his doe.
Down.
Yeah. It's locked down again.
Yeah.
And so anyways, the next morning we were debating. I have a lease up there that I picked up near my farm. And we were going back and forth because we got a really beautiful, big bodied 8-pointer that's pretty regular, like not daylight, but we're getting enough pictures. He's on this lease. And I was like, should we just go sit in that timber? It's a pond set. It's warm, like we'd have a good chance there too. And we kept going back and forth. And I think you're like, let's go try that one more. He's got to show up.
With the lack of trail camera photos, we're like, he's going to break loose from that doe soon. Like he's due to show up.
Or he's just going to show up in general.
He's just going to show up. So we kind of made the idea like, all right, we're going to go sit the morning here on that farm. And then we'll get down. We'll go over to the lease midday, sit there. Okay. And then if we don't do any good, we'll get down and come back to the farm for the evening. That was the original plan.
So like all day hunt, but we're going to hunt two different, they're 5 minutes apart. So it'd be easy enough to do it.
Yeah.
And so we debated on the Jane Doe decoy again.
Yep.
And Scott's like, screw it, let's take the decoy.
Yep.
And so we brought the decoy in, he hauled it in, and we set the decoy up. We had the wrong wind. Wind check was showing southwest, but it was a pretty light wind speed, and it was, pretty high pressure.
Did you fill that decoy full of apples or?
That's right. A belly full of apples.
What are you doing?
No, we did not do that. He's joking.
Little bit of
joke from like one of the last podcasts.
It's a callback.
Little BioStrike, little Evercalm, maybe a little nose jammer.
Put it in the pond.
We put Dopey.
Yeah, the Hunter Specialties.
Yeah. Buck Bomb, Dopey.
Yep.
Because we did not have the Doe estrus. Or no.
No, we had the Doe estrus.
That's the one we used, Doe estrus. So we put it out. We put it out to the west, a little bit to the west, about 60 yards.
Your west or?
Yes, my west. Okay. So northwest of us, the wind was southwest. So we put the decoy up on the northwest so that hopefully if something came out, they'd stay upwind of us.
Sure.
Makes sense? So anyways, we put a little bit of that Doe estrus out from Buck Bomb, and we get in the blind, and it was 29 degrees that morning.
Yeah.
So the really blind frosty windows on that Hawk office were totally frosted over. And so we finally got them open. And so we're cleaning them with some Rain-X. So we popped them. It was on the outside, obviously, that was all frosted. So we're cleaning the windows. I got the front window cleaned. He's working on the side window. He goes to open the vertical and he's like, there's a deer out there. And I'm on the other vertical. So we stop.
Yeah.
We just kind of slowly close it. It was a buck. And there's a gigantic 3-year-old in that area that my neighbor made me aware of. And I hadn't gotten all year, and then it started showing up on us in the last couple of weeks. And sure enough, it was this giant 3-year-old. He's a stud. And he comes over to the decoy. He's looking at us. He's like 10 yards, behind the decoy. He's staring at us. And he finally accepts it, goes to the decoy. He's gonna top her. He's kind of looking. This is at 615 to 620.
Yeah. And I mean, Matt's staring this down through his Leupold, so he's got a pretty good view. I'm still trying to figure out if I can get my camera to shoot anything because it's still so dark. Like I have it cranked as high as I can go. just trying to get any footage, and it's still pretty grainy. So,
Yeah.
but it is what it is in that moment.
So we did get some footage. You can't really tell what's going on,
Yeah.
but anyways, he finally kind of realizes something's off, and he looks back at the blind. He looks at the decoy. He sniffs the decoy. Finally, he just kind of walks off to the east.
Okay.
And as he's walking off, so mind you, it's probably just shooting light, 6:23.
Yep.
I think was first light, that first legal light. I look up to that corner of the property, and there's timber to our west and to our north. It's all like a grown up old CRP. I mean, it's gnarly bedding all around us, which is why we put the food plot here. And I look up, and there's a rack, and I felt like it was him. It was still pretty dark and it was pretty far, but I was like, I think that's him. And he's like, yeah, I think that's him. And he was locked on a doe. And so they stared and sat and stared because she's, looking at that doe decoy. And finally she starts committing. And it's amazing to watch, anybody that's seen it knows this, but watching a buck that's locked on a doe, she takes a step, he takes a step, and it's like a shadow.
Yeah.
And, he's like maybe 15 yards away from her, 20 yards. But if she moved, he moved. And he just stayed with her that whole time. And she finally, it felt like an eternity. It was a couple minutes. And she finally came to the corner of the food plot and had a little bit of the biologic. He was still in the field part. And he keeps looking at that decoy. And he looks at her, and he looks at the decoy, and he looks at her, and he looks at the decoy. She finally keeps walking off. So basically the exact opposite direction that he came from the week before in Scott's deer, she was going down that walking trail, going away. And he committed to that decoy for a split second. And then he's like, oh, I better stick with what I got here. I better go. Yeah, I better go with the girl that I went to the dance with.
Yeah.
And so he starts walking. He gives me a shot. I open the window, and I don't really have time to put it up all the way. So I just rested on my head.
Oh, yeah.
And this time,
desperate times.
I couldn't help him out this time.
I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
So I got the gun up, got the gun on him. And I'm like, mer, mer, mer. He will not stop. And he's starting to kind of walk off
Maybe
a little faster.
Can't hear.
We'll get to that. And so I shoot, I had it on him. I didn't want him to stop, but I had it on him. So I shoot. Scott's on him. He runs to the corner.
What time?
6:27.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still pretty, it's just the first couple minutes of the day.
Sure.
And he runs to the corner they came out in. He starts circling. He starts doing the damnedest flips and jumps and then he finally expires there in the field on me, and it was great.
It had to have been crossing your mind at some point watching him, like, oh God, I don't want to have to go on another track job on another deer.
Yeah, on another farm, on somebody else's piece.
Yeah,
that was the biggest thing.
Ugh.
Like, it definitely was going through my mind.
Go down.
And I was saying that something like, is he going down? Isn't he? And he's like, yeah, he's going down
right there.
And he did. Right there. It was a great feeling to connect.
Curse is broken.
Yep. It felt great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
I had to
photos.
Oh yeah. Sunrise. It was a beautiful morning. High pressure, crystal clear, bluebird.
Yeah.
So we had some beautiful sunrise. Scott did fantastic with all the photography and all the good stuff.
Came together.
The best.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So that was the morning.
Yep.
We get out. Aaron Bennett was hunting, not, maybe half hour away from us. So we text all the time, and we wanted to meet up. He's like, let's meet up for breakfast.
Yeah.
And so we drive down to Bowling Green and go to a little restaurant and meet up with him and his camera guy for breakfast, and Jeremy.
Yep.
And we're sitting there kind of making our plans for the afternoon. All four, like, what are you guys doing? What are we going to do? And we dropped the deer off at the processor woods, and we headed back to our piece, or to where we're staying. I was like, hey, let's go sit this blind on the lease. We haven't set the lease yet this year. And that 8-pointer's there. He got busted up, but he is a giant bodied deer. Mm-hmm. And Scott's got a tag burn, a hole in his pocket.
Yep. And I mean, the story with like trail camera photos was kind of the same thing. Like, we had been getting regular trail camera photos of this buck for a while, but then he just kind of shut off. And we kind of thought he was still in there, but we weren't 100% sure where he was using the fields most. So I went up, I don't know, a few weeks ago, pulled these blinds into position, the Hawk office blind, on these Keno megaliths. And so we were set up and ready for rifle season. It was one of two fields. So we chose that east field and went in there and got set up. And
we still had a southwest wind. DeerCast wind check was showing it going onto the, like blowing into the neighbor's property.
Yep.
So I thought like, hey, this is our best bet, even though they're sim proof. Like, just I feel like they're going to come out of this little cove. It was real kind of secluded. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of pressure from a neighbor on our south end.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think we'll have, instead of that pond set, which I think probably would have been good too, because of the temperatures that day. I was like, let's go sit this instead.
Yeah. So we were just sitting there for a while. And I mean, I feel like it was just a relatively slow sit to begin with.
Mark just killed a buck.
Hey.
Awesome. That deer Hank, call Hank, just killed him at 30 yards.
Heck yeah.
Holy cow.
Awesome.
Yeah, the DeerCast feed is going to be absolutely loaded for the next week.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, we were sitting there and the sit was actually starting off pretty slow. Like we saw one doe come out. She was just feeding kind of in this cover crop for a little bit.
And what time did you guys get into the blind?
I'd say probably 2:45.
2:45.
Yeah, 2:30, 2:45.
We put some batteries in a trail camera that was dead.
Yep. So
Okay.
we had already been over on that east side and came back to the blind, went and parked the buggy. But that's where our first dose came out, was over in front of our trail camera on that side. So a couple other does kind of filter out, and we're kind of always just watching that side because that's where we're seeing the deer. And as light starts to fade, we get down to 4:40, 4:45. So we've got about another 20 minutes, 30 minutes of light. And Matt looks out the left side of the blind over in his corner, and he's like, oh, there's a doe. Oh, there's a buck. And so he whips the camera up, and immediately, as soon as that guy stepped in the field, it was like, yep, that's our boy.
Time to shoot.
I mean, you could tell just the body size of this guy.
It was a freaking horse.
And that is the fun thing about this time of year is if you see a doe, okay, game on.
A single doe, especially. It's one thing if you got a doe with a fawn or yearling with her, it's a little different. But if you got a single doe, there's a good chance something's around her.
Yeah.
Or a doe that is single and ready to mingle.
A doe that pops out of a timber, looks like she just got pushed out of the timber. There's something that pushed her out.
Looking back behind her.
Might be a yearling, but something pushed her out.
Yeah. So popped out. Matt's burning him down with the camber there. We're trying to figure out.
I look like I'm on a boat if you look at the footage. Sorry, guys. Not the best camera guy.
Getting a little seasick here.
But anyways, so he steps out there and we're kind of looking at him. He's facing us and I'm waiting for him to turn broadside.
Okay.
We're trying to range him. I think I grabbed your rangefinder at one point.
I said, how far is he or something?
Yeah.
And the rangefinder, you had the Leupold rangefinder. So you ranged him. He
was 150 and our gun sighted in at 100. So I was like, do I need to hold a touch
so I think
high?
It's an inch high at 100 or something.
Yeah. So anyways, I ended up holding a little high thinking, he was out there a little ways and hindsight's always a little 20/20. I probably shouldn't have held as high, but
so take us through it.
All right. So 150, got the gun on him. Boom, shot him. And he dropped right there in the field. But then immediately you can see him kind of start kicking a little bit. His head's still up.
Hit him again.
So put another one in. Got him right in the shoulder. And then his head hits the ground.
Yeah.
And then he kind of comes back up.
Hit him again.
And it's like, man, this
Terminator
guy just won't go down. So put another one in and boom, third one. Got him, dropped him, done. He didn't leave the field. We were not going to let that happen. So
it was awesome though. I mean, Scott did exactly what he should have. And he made two fantastic shots on the second and third shot. They were money. I mean, the second one would have killed him, but the deer is just so big. And I just think it takes a lot to kill those big mature bucks.
Yeah.
And he would have died from it, but we weren't letting him go anywhere.
Yeah. And where that field is, if he would have went off that hillside,
gets
there's
pretty
a
ugly.
big deep ravine down there. So I'm glad that follow-up shots hit their mark.
They were perfect.
And he died right there in the field.
Nice.
So
we got a classic Scott reaction.
Dude, I figured out it doesn't matter. I can think about it. I can try to tell myself not to, but every single time I kill an animal.
Dude.
It's like that surfer they interviewed about the waves. He's like, oh, dude, I hit it. Got real gnarly and barreled out.
No,
it's just
exactly
a fun
like that.
Everybody knows though. That
it's my
moment,
thing.
You're not in your right mind.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whatever.
I just wish I had something as cool as like Coon Dog with Pow Baby Pow.
Yeah.
Like at least,
dude,
you know,
yours.
mine's like dude. So I'm just waiting on my camera guy to figure it out and go, sweet. Dude, sweet.
homie.
Such a fun. It was such a fun day, man. And so we should backtrack a little bit because Terry, after I killed, I text Mark and Terry, let them know, and everybody's happy and something like, hey, maybe it kicks it was early, so kick the day off. And then Terry killed about an hour or two later, killed his target over in Illinois.
Yep.
And then I think, did Taylor kill before?
I think it was Bryce.
Oh, Bryce killed.
Yep.
Coon Dog filmed a kill in Illinois.
And then
Taylor killed.
Yep.
And then Scott killed.
Then me finish it out.
So there were 6 kills in the one day.
Yeah.
It's a busy Saturday.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So I told Bo that night, I was like, hey, just so you understand, a lot of people killed a lot of deer today while Daddy was with you on this backpacking trip.
Yeah, again, great parenting.
So,
like guilt.
They got to know
how much sacrifice there truly is here.
Yeah.
When's your next
Dad, you must
camping
really
trip
love
scheduled
me.
for?
What's that?
When's your next camping trip scheduled for?
Probably next year on his birthday.
I would have, if it were me, I would have scheduled it so his birthday's today, Thanksgiving's Thursday. I would have scheduled it for this coming weekend.
Sophie's birthday.
Oh, brutal.
Who has kids during deer season?
Well, I do.
Yeah. Well, it
let's
wasn't
not go
supposed to
there.
happen this way. Like Bo came 6 weeks early. Sophie came 4 weeks early.
Well,
So,
hey.
Yeah.
So never mind.
what can
So
you do?
you're going on a camping trip this weekend?
Hopefully not.
It's youth season this weekend. You could take Sophie out.
Yeah, I mean, she just wants to crossbow hunt anytime. Anyway,
She
so I
won't
could take
try that
her.
350.
She's still.
Yeah.
And like the only place I have to take her to practice with it is the conservation shooting range, and that's an intimidating. I mean,
it intimidates me.
MDC runs great facilities. The one we go to is Jay Henges. It's awesome, but it is intimidating. And then you got a guy with 30-06 right next to you shooting
blowing things away.
Yeah, it's just kind of a different vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
So, not sure.
Well, so
yeah,
Nice
we
job,
had ourselves
guys.
a day.
we were riding high,
Congrats.
Daily
son.
double.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You deserved it.
Matt's is at the processor. Mine's at the processor.
And Scott,
Couple
you're
Euros
tagged
coming.
out.
Yeah, Scott is tagged out.
First time in my life I have ever been tagged out. So, yeah. And I think these 2 bucks this year are like my biggest bucks ever.
Dude. Let's
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, you're getting
But yeah,
a Dell.
my biggest for the compound, and then this
Alan,
one was
are
my
you okay
third.
over there? Okay.
So.
You look like you're falling asleep on us.
He is.
Anyhow, it was a great day.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yep. Fun
They don't
stuff.
happen near enough.
Yep.
So
Well,
and now
you
the real
guys
fun begins, working through all the journals, all the editing. So we're going to get all that stuff up in
Happy
DeerCast
work.
soon. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
always good looking back.
Well,
on it.
you guys certainly put the time and effort in. So it's nice to see that return on investment.
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. It
So we
paid
got-
off.
Illinois tag coming up here next week, and still got an archery tag in Missouri to try to fill. So we'll pick and choose our battles, but we'll stick just like you. We're gonna stick it out
Riding
Yep.
high though.
till the end.
Yep. We've got some plans in mind. So
A little less pressure now.
Heck
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, we should get to our real wild clip this week. This is crazy, and some people may have previewed it in the Rack Pack over on Facebook. This comes to us from our buddy Eric Hires from Indiana. This buck be doing some laps.
This is crazy, and it's a giant deer.
It's a really good
So
deer.
We're looking at a deer swimming down a river.
It's in a pond.
That's a pond.
I clarified with Eric. I was like, "Hey, what was going on here?" He was like, "Man, I think he just got his butt whooped by a bigger buck that's off camera. So it's cell phone video of a buck that's swimming around in a pond, and there's a bigger
get
buck
outta
in
here.
the woods on the background. So Eric thinks
Staring
that
at him.
he just got his butt kicked, and he's kind of like trying to avoid this other deer
Wow.
because he's just swimming around. He's not crossing the pond. He doesn't seem to have a real destination. He's just doing laps.
Kind of looks back every once in a while, like that guy back
And-
there. Still.
yeah.
I mean, if you ever gotten your ass kicked, you're not gonna
Do whatever you can to get away. And Eric said the deer looked healthy, so it didn't look like it was suffering from
Yeah.
like EHD or something. It's just out there swimming around.
Such a wild. I mean, this is a real wild clip. It really is. This is an
Literally.
awesome rack pack.
now is this the
contribution.
full video, or did we trim this one?
No,
down?
the full video. He's
Okay.
got 5 minutes of this
I was gonna
clip,
say, yeah,
and then he's got like 2 or 3 minutes of another clip.
yeah. Yeah, super cool.
So we're going to sit here. We're going to watch all 7 minutes in silence. Use your imagination, folks.
Eric, good job filming this. Good footage.
That's
awesome deer.
stuff.
Thanks for sending it in. Appreciate it.
I'm calling the swimming hole buck.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So the question of the day. What do we got here? We got the question of the day is proudly brought to you by Sportsman's Channel, your home for Winchester and Drury's Natural Barn and everything red, wild, and blue. We got a question from Landon Hendrickson from Iowa.
Just watch your guys' podcast.
Well,
It was about hunting the rut in the timber. And I noticed you guys had one from Southwest Wisconsin area. I hunt Northeast Iowa, and it's real similar to the terrain of Southwest Wisconsin, that driftless region area. The region I hunt, all the egg fields are on top. They bed down deep in the valley. They come up top and graze at night. And that's against that whole rule of thumb of hunt high in the morning and low in the evening when it's completely backwards. If you guys got any type of info or tips on anything like that, I would love to hear it. Thank you. Bye.
We're in this position on a couple of our farms, and it's tough. And before I started putting the box blinds in, I know, not everybody can do it, and not everybody wants to do it. But I will say this: it has changed our success rate in seeing deer, because when we were hunting tree stands up high on those ag fields, our thermals were sucking down into the timber, and it was really screwing up our opportunities before we even knew it a lot of times. And the success rate changed, and just even seeing deer and them staying on their natural patterns coming into the ag field, coming up out of the bottom bedding and all that. So it has made a difference for us. Now, another thought would be, if you're tree stand hunting, you really think through your wind and where that you think the bedding is, and trying to be where they aren't going to, where your thermals aren't going to naturally suck down into. So you have the wind to contest with, but you also have your thermals to contest with at that time. So you might have a wind that's blowing one way, but your thermals are still going to be sucked down, going down below you the other way potentially.
Well, and I've got one of these spots where it's a great morning spot, but it's on a south facing slope. And so I have to be careful about, and the deer tend to kind of travel parallel to my stand uphill from me. So in those circumstances, I wait until the predominant wind is out of the north. And so it overtakes the thermals. Like it's gonna kind of cancel out the effect of the thermal, because it's pushing. Like if it's a 3, 4, 5, 6 mile an hour wind, it's like, that's too sketchy. But a stiff north, it's gonna completely negate the effects of that thermal.
You really have to watch it though, because at the end of the night, typically your wind will die down, and right when the deer are moving, that 15 to 20 minutes. And unless you have a really strong wind to negate that, you almost can't cheat it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because the wind just starts dying down, and just naturally, even if the wind blowing the opposite direction of where your thermals should be going, it just has a tendency to suck down. Now, we've also used nose jammer to try to help in that ozone. Nose jammer, I mean, everything. So if you're hunting in a tree stand, those kind of things we've had success with. We have had luck doing that kind of stuff.
And elevation. If you can go higher than than you normally do, that can help kind of put a little like give you a little like a cone almost of protection. But that can get a little sketchy also. It's just tough. Like there's no getting around it. It's a tougher way of hunting. It would be ideal to be able to hunt the ridges in the morning and the valleys in the evening. But if that's not where they are, then you just have to, I think what Landon is figuring out is you just have to adapt.
Yeah. And I think, you guys nailed it all right there. But biggest thing, what I think about is wind speed. Just make sure you have that sustained wind speed going right there through the end of dark. And that's going to give you your best opportunity.
Which is tough. You'd have to almost have a 15 mile an hour, called for forecasted
a front
wind
coming in.
Because otherwise, even if it's like 9 or 10, it's going to die down to 5 or 4, not about nothing right there in the last half hour.
Yep.
So
agreed. Thanks, Landon. Hey, reach out to me through the Rack Pack on the Facebook. Shoot me a direct message, and we'll get you set up with a podcast ball cap. And the wildlife word this week is made possible by DeerCast Wind Check. Pick your stand with confidence by scrolling through the hourly custom win animations.
All right, what do we got
I use
this
it
week?
all the time. So adrenaline helps a shot deer escape by signaling blood to shunt from the gut and exterior of the deer to its muscles. But adrenaline also does this. A, it allows them to detect electromagnetic fields. B, triples the acuity of their hearing. C, sharpens their field of vision directly in front of them. Or D, increases their ability to clot their blood.
You know, I was going to say E, find them, deer, find them. That deer in Kansas.
Burned into your phrase, burned into your mind.
That dog was trained on adrenaline, apparently. You know, I don't know. D, increases their ability to clot.
That
Okay.
would be what I would guess. The clotting.
It's not a guess. You're dead on.
Well,
Dead on.
took most of my tests in school.
Wow,
It was a
dude.
guess. Hey, I was right.
Surprise. Whoa. What do you know? Yeah, and so and we've talked about this before, but you know, if you're archery hunting, having super sharp broadheads, it kind of blocks that signal that hey, you've been cut, and it decreases their clotting factor because they don't get the same signal. Like when there's a lot of pain signal because of a ragged cut, that really it indicates like, hey, you need to clot this. It's like if you've ever cut yourself with a knife, you're like, I don't even feel that.
Yeah.
Here comes the blood. And it's the same thing with deer.
Interesting. That's a good one, Tim. Thank you.
I had to make up after that one like last week where it was the answer was the rut.
Like, are you even trying anymore?
No, that day I wasn't. Like, I got some stuff to do. The answer is fries.
All right. What's next?
All right, we got a shout out from our buddy Aaron Cosby, no relation. He sent us a note in the Rack Pack. Said, listen to the podcast on YouTube today and just join the Rack Pack. God bless from the mountains of Western North Carolina.
Well, thanks for joining. Hey, so Rack Pack, we got a special private Facebook group over in Facebook called the 100% Wild
Best
Rack
place
Pack.
for it.
It's not on Instagram. So it's actually growing quite a bit here. Yeah, I think we're at like 2.4, 2.5.
We should probably talk because I think some people are getting membershipized and they're not real people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of fake accounts on Facebook of people that are like trying to sell bulk ammo and crap, and they're not real people.
Well,
there's a little bit of vetting that I do. Like I'll go and sometimes I'll check people's profiles to see if they have like a history or if it's just like one profile picture and this profile was created Tuesday.
Well, I do. So here's a backstory. Tim switched it over to let me be the guy betting.
He's a big boy.
I don't want this job, but I have it. And so
like so many others in this company.
Yes. So I just approve.
Left and right. Anyway.
Approve. But I do
read
look.
that name. I can read that name.
I do look. And the reason why I say this is because I mentioned it, I think to you the other day. I was like, it really surprises me the people that joined this because I had, and maybe he's listed, I don't know. We had a pastor join, and I was like, what does this guy find in this podcast
We're confused.
that he likes? But I know you said that your pastor listens too.
Yeah,
and
Brandon.
then I said, I bet these people think I'm just a heathen.
Yeah, Matt, you are a heathen. You know it.
We had a lady join the Facebook group this past week or 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "There are no girls allowed here."
I saw that.
She was like,
she was
really?
offended. Yeah, I think she was genuinely.
No, yeah,
offended.
she was, which made me think she maybe doesn't listen.
Yeah,
because
I think we get some of
She would
those.
have known we were just.
It's just a joke.
Not yet. She's listening now, Tim.
Yeah,
here's hoping.
So, anyways, go join if you haven't already. And this week, Tim's listed out a bunch of names of people that joined, and he put a fake name in there somewhere that I gotta sniff out. So we got Jesse Lehman, Andy Kajela.
It's impronounceable by the human tongue.
Oh,
too many consonants.
It's Tim's brother.
Yeah, he a couple days ago he was like,
"Thanks for just joining, Andy."
Hey, he has no interest in hunting, by the way. He listens to the show. I don't know why. Him and my mom both listen.
Your mom listens?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
When they go on road trips, they listen to the podcast.
I'm sorry, Mom.
But he was like, hey, is it everybody that and he was dead serious. Hey, is it everybody that gets a shout out or just certain people?
So he's wanting a shout out. Well, I butchered your name on purpose.
Got him.
You should have joined years ago, Andy.
Get ready for some more butchering here.
All right. Oh boy. Kyle Poker and Jack. Kyle Pokrinchak
Johnson.
Deflection. Okay, so Deflection's the fake name. I got to go back to Kyle. Kyle Pockenrack?
I can guarantee that's not it.
What is it, Tim?
I would guess Pokrinchak, but I don't know.
You think about the list of last names we got. Kajelsvik, Pockenrack, Flexion. I mean, Mark Winky, probably not related to Bill. Brian Rogers, Clint Anderson, Jim Ike. Now, this guy I see a lot comment on our stuff, and I never know how to pronounce his last name.
It's almost like he's made his name to where it makes people think that you're having an aneurysm.
Eichinger?
Jim Eichinger, but it's
or you're stuttering. So that's what throws me.
He could be fancy. Be Eichinger.
So, Jim, Eichinger. I see you. I appreciate you. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Connor Vaughn. Does Jim, he's in DeerCast a lot, commenting on stuff, isn't he? Or is he in the Rack Pack? I don't know.
The name's not familiar for a DeerCast user, but
all right,
what do I know?
Zachary Howe, William Parker, Old Billy, John Robert, and Ronnie Belfield.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Ronnie Ballfield.
No, that would be a different person.
Okay.
Altogether. Well,
Tim, it's 3:28 and you got a meeting at 3:30.
Here we go. Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Nice job.
Gonna get me a couple crazies nuts.
The old pumpkin spice mix.
I'm just eating a candy corn. I'm just here for the candy corn.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. The candy corn's a real divider of people.
Yep. Division right here.
And people
candy
who don't
corn,
like
out.
it, and then there are insane people.
Neither of you guys like candy corn?
I'm out.
Nope.
I'll eat pretzels,
candy
but
corn.
no candy corn.
I'll be damned.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate you. Make sure you join the Rack Pack. Make sure you sign up for that tracker giveaway in DeerCast before time is up. Make sure you like and subscribe to the show. If you don't, you're stealing from us.
Stop the presses. We have a huge Black Friday sale going on.
Huge.
I know a lot of you guys are already DeerCasters, so this may not apply to you, but we do have the largest sale in our history. Black Friday, 50% off any subscription tier. And it runs all the way through Sunday night? It starts now. So like as you're listening to this, it runs all the way through Monday night, Alan said. So join over there. If you're in one level and you want to upgrade to the next level, 50% off of that too. And it's prorated. So do it.
No excuses now.
All right. And DruryOutdoors.com, we're like getting rid of everything. So go to DruryOutdoors.com. You can get like DVDs for free, basically. Hats and shirts and everything's, a lot of stuff's discounted. So go to DruryOutdoors.com for that. DeerCast.com for 50% off any subscription level you want. And I think that's it, man. I mean, we're basically giving away everything.
Everything must go.
And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your families. So
if you still have a tag to fill, look at us. It can happen. Tim.
in an instant.
Don't look at Tim. Look at Scott.
Sound like lottery winners.
All right. Till next time. Peace out.
See ya.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck.